It's always fun when we get to see LeBron James and Kevin Durant go head to head. And on Sunday they did so. The Cavs ended up winning 108-98 in a great game. LeBron James had 34. Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson both finished with double doubles. KD and Westbrook combined for 54 in their loss. And it seems as if both teams are heading in two opposite directions. The Thunder, they're still out of the playoff picture as we stand. In Cleveland, they have won 6 straight games and now are back 5 games above 500. And it leads me to ask these two questions. Will OKC make the playoffs? And are the Cavaliers a legit threat to come out of the Eastern Conference? I'll answer both next. Welcome back to the Best Damn Sports Blog. Back again to talk NBA with you guys, specifically the Cavaliers and Thunder following their game on Sunday in which the Cavs beat the Thunder 108-98, extending the Cavs win streak to 6 games. And I just want to say the Cavs have looked great in these 6 wins so far. It seems like they're buying into what David Blatt is talking now. LeBron seems to be motivated on both sides of the floor, although from time to time he still slacks on defense and doesn't get back. But all of a sudden, LeBron James may just be in the MVP talks right behind Steph Curry and James Harden. Since returning from injury, LeBron has looked like the greatest player in the world that we have known him to be over the past, 5 or 6 years. Since LeBron's return, the Cavaliers are 6-1, and they have only given up 100 points in 2 of those games. And I'm really liking what I'm starting to see from this Cavaliers team. They're starting to look like a cohesive group, like they actually like each other. And these new pieces that the Cavaliers have added, they have done nothing but improve this team to the full extent. Since getting rid of Waiters, this Cavs team has looked pretty much great once LeBron has returned. And what's funny about Waiters throwing jabs at the Cavaliers, talking about, oh, well, in OKC, I actually get the ball. I get the ball. Well, what's funny about that is when you look up the advanced stats per 36 minutes, in Cleveland, Dion Waiters took more shots than Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. So getting his ego out of town seems to be the best Cavs addition, but only by subtraction. And let's not forget, J.R. Smith has been pretty good since joining the Cavaliers. I'm going to read you all some of his stats. In his 10 games as a Cavalier, J.R. Smith has hit 4 or more three-pointers in 4 games, and he's also going for 20-plus in 4 different games. So he brings a dimension that Dion cannot do. There hasn't been a game where Dion's hit 4 three-pointers. J.R. Smith has had a game in which he has hit 7 three-pointers and 8 three-pointers since joining the Cavaliers. And excuse me, there's been 2 games he's hit 7 three-pointers. And these are just performances that Dion Waiters cannot duplicate. Yes, there will be times where the Cavaliers and the fans hate him because he's going to shoot them out of a couple games. But when J.R. Smith is on, he's on fire. And this is exactly the type of player the Cavs need. He's also a little bit more athletic than Dion. And I think he can create for others a little bit better than Dion. J.R. Smith, yes, he can get shot happy, trigger happy, but he also does look to find others, and he will make passes when necessary. The trades the Cavs made to bring in Mozgov, Shumpert, and J.R. Smith, I think has saved their season and possibly even saved Kevin Love from leaving, because now he looks more comfortable in the Cavs offense. He seems to be getting a lot more touches in the post, although I feel like he should get a few more. But Kevin Love seemed to actually be happy out there when there was a point where I just looked at his body language and I thought, this guy's leaving town first chance he gets. He cannot handle playing behind LeBron and Kyrie Irving and being the third wheel. And even as the third wheel, Kevin Love is averaging over 17 points and 10 rebounds. And he has 24 double-doubles on the season, which is in the top 5. So slowly but surely, Kevin Love seems to be coming along fine with the Cavaliers. He started slow, but he seems to be picking it up of late. So those who claim that Kevin Love isn't that good, just stop. Give it more time. He's playing at an all-star level. 17 and 10 when you're the third option is not easy to do. You have to be good to average 17 and 10 when you're the third wheel. But when you look at this Eastern Conference as a whole, this conference is wide open, just as wide open as we expected at the beginning of the season. No one expected Atlanta to be this good. Atlanta is currently 37 and 8. 37-8. We got to shout out Mike Budenholzer, Jeff Teague, Al Horford, Paul Millsap, and the whole Hawks team. Because as of right now in Vegas, they are the favorites to win the NBA title. And I guarantee nobody predicted the Hawks could ever be the favorite to win the NBA title at any point during this season. But with all that said, the Cavaliers, with their new additions and LeBron playing at an MVP level, I think they are now the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. I mean, just think about it. The Cavs haven't even worked Iman Shumpert into their rotation yet. They have too many good players now. Timofey Mozgov, J.R. Smith. And then, of course, you have the big three, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, LeBron James. 3 perennial all-stars. And 2 of the 3 haven't even hit their prime. And the other of the 3 is the greatest player in the world when he's at 100%. And LeBron looks to be at 100%. Since returning from injury in his 7 games back, LeBron has scored 25 or more in all 7. And in 4 of those 7 games, he is going for 30 or more. Not to mention his lift and explosiveness, it's back. It's back. So watch out, Eastern Conference. You got teams like Toronto who have been reeling of late. Since DeMar DeRozan's return, they haven't looked that good. So I cannot take the Toronto Raptors serious when it comes to being a contender to come out the Eastern Conference. I see it as 3 teams, possibly a 4th. The 4th being the Washington Wizards. The other 3, of course, the Cavs, Hawks, and the Bulls. And speaking of the Bulls, they haven't looked that great recently. It's probably because Thibs is running players into the ground. You got Jimmy Butler, who has returned to what we expect from Jimmy Butler. His offense is taking a step back, but maybe that could be because Thibs is running him into the ground. Butler has admitted that he can't even play the type of defense he wants to because he has to conserve some energy for offense now. And Thibs is playing him probably around 37 and 40 minutes a game. And injuries have been a problem for the Bulls as well. Dunleavy has been out a while. You got McDermott. I don't think he's even played in more than 10 games this season. So this Bulls team, they have a lot to figure out in these last, 40 to 35 games remaining in the season prior to the playoffs. The Atlanta Hawks, I feel like they are the biggest threat to the Cavaliers because they remind me of a Spurs team. Budenholzer is a Popovich protege, and his team resembles that. They don't have one big star player that you can point to and say he's going to get the ball in the last 10 seconds of a game when it's tied up. But they do have a nice amount of good players, such as Paul Millsap. Jeff Teague has been playing at an all-star level. Since Al Horford has returned this year, I think that's been the biggest difference from the years prior, is Al Horford's going down to injury. Like last year, they had a great season. And they even pushed the Pacers to I think 6 or 7 games in the first round of the playoffs. But they didn't have Al Horford. Now that Al Horford is back, this team has taken the next step. I like the addition of Lou Williams as well. He helps coming off the bench. Schroeder is developing into a nice young point guard. And Kyle Korver, he is shooting out of this world. 50% from 3, 50% field goal percentage, and over 90% from the free throw line. If he finishes the season with those exact stats that he has now, he will be the first player in NBA history to shoot over 50% from the field, 50% from 3, and 90 from the free throw line. To me, there is no debate who the best shooter in the NBA is. It is Kyle Korver. Yes, Steph Curry can do all those amazing shots off the dribble, fading away. But Kyle Korver, when it comes to just pure shooting, Kyle Korver is the best. But back to the Hawks. A 37-8 record is nothing to sneeze at. A 14-0 record against teams in the Western Conference is definitely nothing to sneeze at. But even knowing so, I cannot see this Hawks team beating the Cavaliers in a 7-game series and possibly even Chicago in a 7-game series. I feel it is too soon for this team. They are great as a collective, but they do not have a great player. And when it comes to playoffs, I think you need great players to make it to the NBA Finals. Now, the Spurs are the one team you can point to and say they don't have one great player, but they have a collection of really, really good players. And that's how they got there. The Hawks, they're comparable to that. But when they have to go against LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, now a team also with Timofey Mozgov, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, you still got Mike Miller, Shawn Marion. I just can't see them beating the Cavaliers in a 7-game series. I see the Hawks making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I see them meeting The Cavaliers were the Cavaliers probably winning 6 or 7 games in a hard-fought series. Now, there's still plenty of basketball to be played. A lot can change from now. But what I have been seeing from this Cavaliers team, especially defensively, I know it's a small sample size, but in the Cavs' last 4 games, they have held all 4 of their opponents to under 42% shooting in those games. And I know this is something that can't continue forever. There's going to be a game where they play poor defense. But if they can come remotely close to playing that type of defense consistently with the talent they have on this team, I don't see another team stopping them in the Eastern Conference. Yes, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving don't have any playoff experience, but with LeBron James, the best player in the world on the team, and so much talent around him, I think they figure it out. And if they don't, it'll be a disappointment.